That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, even though we are suffering so many injuries across the entire NFL, we are still going to have to go out there and make sure that we are keeping key players out of our starting lineup based on their matchups. This is the most important time of the season to make sure you are going out there outworking your opponent on the waiver wire in your start-sit decisions, any last-minute trade to gear your team up for the fantasy football playoffs. I know we are going to have a ton of money on the line for pretty much everybody who watches the channel during the fantasy football playoffs. So I promise you guys, I'm going to be working my hardest to try to have us all take down our league pots, because I know it will be a fantastic end of the season, and we've already been killing it so far in 2020. But we will have a few things going on tomorrow. Please make sure you go follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm going to be taking all of your questions there. Not all of them, but as many as I can, and including them in the videos for tomorrow. We're going to have a video that goes through and is a start-sit decision. We're going to have trade questions. We're going to have roster breakdowns. Really anything that you can think of. I'm going to try to remember to put my Instagram and Twitter on the screen. If not, it should be down in the description below. Okay, but that's it. Let's get into this video and let's talk about 5 wide receivers that we need to make sure are not in our starting lineups going into week 11. And let's start it off with Michael Pittman. Now guys, with Michael Pittman, he is not on this list because we don't trust the talent. I love Pittman. Y'all know if you've been following the channel since this summer, whenever we were evaluating these players for our Dynasty Fantasy Football rookie drafts, I really was fond of Michael Pittman coming out of USC. The talent profile is 100% there, where we believe that he is going to be a long-term impact player for the Indianapolis Colts. This is also a player that I advise you to pick up from your waiver wire 2 weeks ago once he was coming back from that short-term IR because of that talent profile. But I fully believe that he has emerged as the wide receiver 1 on this Indianapolis Colts offense. And what sucks about that is Jaire Alexander is going to be good to go this week for the Green Bay Packers. Clearly, if Michael Pittman is the wide receiver 1, where the Green Bay Packers feel like he is the guy that they need to shut down, Jaire Alexander is going to be on him very closely all game. And I will say, we know that this Green Bay Packers defense is actually easily beaten by the run. So maybe they end up leaning on Nyheim Hines, Jordan Wilkins, maybe even Jonathan Taylor if we're lucky, and see the Indianapolis Colts just completely change their game plan. So for the rest of the season, with his talent profile, I really like Michael Pittman, but because of the matchup in week 11, I don't think we can have him anywhere near our starting lineup with below average quarterback play, with him not fully developed in the NFL. I think it's going to be almost impossible for him to go out there and make sure he is consistently beating Jaire Alexander in coverage. Okay, now our next wide receiver, someone that I was so high on last week. Guys, I mean, pretty much anybody who asked me a start-sit question with him in it, I told y'all to put him in your starting lineup. Robert Woods. Guys, Robert Woods killed us last week. I thought that it was going to be a perfect matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. That game actually had a much lower total than we initially thought it would. And on top of that, Josh Reynolds has fully become an every down player for this Los Angeles Rams offense. This has been something that's been going on for a month now, and I was really overlooking it, thinking the reason that we were seeing this type of usage from Josh Reynolds was the injury to Tyler Higbee. I thought that Sean McVay just looked at his overall offense, and without his starting tight end, he wanted to scale back his snaps, scale back his targets, and he wanted to get Josh Reynolds a little bit more involved. But no, it looks like Tyler Higbee was 100% good to go last week, and they continue to roll out Josh Reynolds, getting him close to 10 targets every single week this month. Now with Robert Woods, clearly that target share for Josh Reynolds is going to eat into his own production, only seeing 6 targets last week, 5 receptions, 36 yards. Robert Woods was a wide receiver that I was confident as a high-end wide receiver 2 last week, and pretty much as a mid-wide receiver 2 every single week this fantasy football season. But now that we've seen his snaps and some of his targets going over to Josh Reynolds, and the fact that he is going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, Really don't like that Tampa Bay matchup. I think that Tampa is going to end up coming out here and really trying to run the ball. We know that they have a strong defense, just like the Los Angeles Rams. So while most people expect this game to be a shootout with the points scored of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week, I actually think that this game could be a little bit lower down on the totem pole in terms of the NFL games that we are wanting to be attacking, just because both defenses are extremely strong. All right, now our next wide receiver, someone that was a roller coaster last week. I told you to sit him whenever we thought Jair Alexander was going to be good to go. Then Jair Alexander was ruled out, and I wanted everything, every little piece of him in my starting lineup, but it did not work out. DJ Chark, guys, if DJ Chark was not able to get going against the Green Bay Packers last week, the Packers were missing their top 2 cornerbacks, really without that elite coverage by Jair Alexander, shutting down the alpha from the opposing offense. The Green Bay Packers actually have a below average defense, and the Jacksonville Jaguars were not able to do anything really against it that was going to excite us coming into this week, because now in week 11, they are going to be going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Clearly, this is not something that we want to be attacking. This is something we want to be avoiding at all costs. And while I love the wide receiver in DJ Chark, he's an elite level athlete, seeing a very high target share on his own offense. This is why last week I told you to sell him high after his massive performance. Y'all were annoyed because a month ago I told y'all to go pick him up off your waiver wire or go send low ball offers for him to get him on your roster. Last week I told you to sell him high, and y'all like, Mason, make up your mind here. What do you want us to do with DJ Chark? Guys, I hope most of y'all did exactly what I wanted, and that was to make a profit with DJ Chark. But if you have him on your roster right now, it's just going to be very hard to know when we can rely on starting him, now that we are going to be expecting the quarterback play for the Jacksonville Jaguars to be near the bottom of the league, and especially in week 11 when they're going to be going up against an elite defense. All right, so now our next wide receiver. I'm not going to lie, I told a lot of people to sit him in the live stream last week. Very surprised by his production, but DJ Moore, guys, with DJ Moore, I know him and Curtis Samuel pretty much have just been swapping weeks as the pop wide receiver in the Carolina Panthers. We've actually seen that Robbie Anderson is the consistent wide receiver one there, averaging over 8 targets a game. I know we are going to see these spike week performances from a DJ Moore where he almost went for over 100 yards and a touchdown off of only 4 receptions. The 4 reception mark is actually what we have to be worried about, just because DJ Moore is not seeing that consistent target share, and where he is seeing his targets is actually a lot further down the field than where we would like. Where he scored this past week was actually just a beautiful play designed by Joe Brady. I just first off have to give major credit where credit is due for both Matt Rule and Joe Brady, making this Carolina Panthers offense look special with Teddy Bridgewater under center. But with DJ Moore, he's just not having the role on this offense that we wanted him to have coming into 2020. His volume is not necessarily consistent. The matchup is nice against the Detroit Lions, but I would really prefer having a player like Robbie Anderson in my starting lineup rather than someone like DJ Moore, just because we know the targets are going to be volatile with the other secondary wide receiver in Curtis Samuel. Okay, so now our last wide receiver. Y'all know I included him on this list last week. He was also on our sell high list last week and 2 weeks ago, but I have to triple down here. Travis Fulgham. Guys, with Travis Fulgham, no reason to ever consider starting this wide receiver until we see anything change. What I told y'all last week was Jalen Reagor was the most talented wide receiver in this wide receiver room. I think that was apparent in what we saw from their Week 10 production, especially knowing that Alshon Jeffrey is going to be coming in and running routes for this offense. There is no reason to be going out there and starting Travis Fulgham. I know some people want to say, the volume wasn't that bad. He saw 5 targets. No, guys, like 3 of those targets, if you were actually watching that game, were just complete throwaways by Carson Wentz, where he was halfway down being tackled, and then he just threw it out of bounds with Travis Fulgham being the closest wide receiver, so there was no intentional grounding penalty. Outside of that, Travis Fulgham does not have that consistent target share we can rely on. And what I told you last week was Travis Fulgham was a wide receiver living off of volume. He was not efficient with his volume that he was seeing. The only reason he was a fantasy football impact player is just because there was nobody else to go to in this offense. Well, now they have Miles Sanders, they have Dallas Goedert, they have Jalen Reagor, they have Alshon Jeffrey. Yes, Fulgham is still going to be a key role player. Yes, I think he is a talented NFL wide receiver, but at the end of the day, that's only going to provide you so much. What we need is that consistent target share, which he just does not have. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please make sure you go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And I'm going to be live streaming tonight, tomorrow night, both at 9 p.m. Central to answer all your questions, as well as Sunday morning to get those last minute answers in. But thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed it and have a great day.